All right, Shalom. This is Harwan Banyasha Allah of the Lions Den Camp, located right here in Jacksonville, Florida. Before I begin, I want to say Kal Halayim, La Yahweh, Ba Hashem Yahushai, Ba Hashem Harakak Kwadash Ma'amah. Double honor to the elder apostles of GMS and their elders. Shalom to you, Akim and Akwatim, my children that believe in sincerity and truth around the four corners of the earth. It's going to be a quick, impromptu lesson, man. I'm trying to do some fast ones now. But let's go into Habakkuk 2 and 6. All right, or actually 5. Habakkuk 2 and 5, because we're coming up upon this prophecy real soon. All right, because you got the economic powers like Russia, China, Iran, Saudi Arabia, which are over the oil, OPEC nations. China's cornering the market, dominating the market. Dominating the market, and Russia is cornering the market with China. And then you have America, which has become their economy has become volatile, all right, which is becoming unstable. Now, the reason people deal with the dollar because it's a trusted form of currency, as far as trade globally, but it's always been known as an unstable currency, especially since the Nixon shock, 1971. All right, so now you have talks of China and Russia doing away with the dollar for trade between themselves. And you got talks of Saudi Arabia getting involved. And if Saudi Arabia says, hey, they're gonna be open to taking trade for oil and other currencies, then the dollar is done. That's immediate Weimar Republic, Zimbabwe type of hyperinflation. You know, like the scriptures speak about in the book of Revelations. Now, they're set to move towards a digital system, which they already have the pilot in place. We've seen glimpses of it as well, also dealing with social credit scores, et cetera, biometric data reading. And I seen a news report earlier that, they're setting up for this now. Because if you go, like even me, I drive Uber or DoorDash or Grubhub, any of these sites, they're starting to ask for biometric data, like your facial recognition, fingerprint, so they can begin that file on those individuals. Now, you also have, it's clear that they're doing this on a world scale. The only one that's kind of lagging behind is America. All the other nations, they're already moving towards digital system, digital ID, social credit scores. But now Babylon is the last one because that's the world ruling currency. So now you have places like China that are not suffering, but also they're caught in the middle. Put like their currency is tied to America's dollar, and they buy U.S. treasuries because the U.S. treasuries are known as a stable currency around the world, as the stablest form of transaction between countries is the dollar. You have the yuan, the ruble, which are fastly becoming stable coins. Stable forms of transaction amongst the countries. So it's a race. It's a battle between the economic powers. Who's going to have the most stable and who's going to have the most dominant currency? That's the one that's going to rule the world. Other than that, they will have military might. That's the only thing that has sustained the dollar is America's economic manipulation around the world with sanctions and also their military might. That's the only thing that kept the dollar up, with it being backed by oil. And the fact that other nations don't have a balanced or stable form of transaction amongst themselves yet. So what America has to do is switch over to a digital system, which will also lead to them cracking down on the American people with surveillance, more transparency, meaning less privacy, direct stimuluses, which is a form of control and a sign that the market is crashing. They would have to move towards they would move towards biometric, logins. So if you want to get on your bank, you want to get on your job, you want to get on social media, whatever, you have to have a biometric ID, a digital ID, to enter this system. That way they can control it later. All right. So all of this is soon to transpire according to scriptures and allegedly according to the current trends. Where these nations are getting tired of paying into Babylon's debt by buying U.S. treasuries, only because it's a stable form of transaction, safe form of transaction amongst countries at this time. So they're like, damn, the only reason this dollar existing is because of de facto, because they all believe in it and they're trading in it ever since the Nixon shock, right? Or should I say 1944, the Balfour Declaration. So now they're all like, damn, why are we keep China, Russia, and all these other nations in Saudi Arabia allegedly? They're all saying, why are we keeping this oppressive nation with sanctions? Why are we keeping them thriving by paying into their market? So they're like, yo, let's start our own system of transactions, which will delete America out of their market. All right, causing an immediate collapse of this place. So they're going to be forced to switch to digital to show the mirage of the American economy still thriving or having a form of balance. Like people still might invest in the dollar or U.S. treasuries, but they can trade globally if Trump and his administration can say, hey, their new form of digital trade and economy has less drug trafficking, has less privacy, right? More open trade, more security. All right. So they're going to say, hey, our economy is stable. You can invest in it. Look, our economy is okay. And some people still going to buy into it. But you got places like China and them, like, yo, they're trying to thrive in the digital world and in their economy and the world power. So they're saying this right here. This is Habakkuk 2:6, 2:5. Yea, also because he transgressive by wine. Transgression means to continually trespass or sin. And what they say, robbing, stealing, killing, or unaliving in the world through military might, economic power, the dollar, manipulation with sanctions and trade. It said he is a proud man. This country became proud in its leaders. Everybody said his look is more stout than all his fellows. Neither keep it at home, right? That's how they sustain the dollar with the oil by all their military interventions overseas that we've been seeing. Who enlargeth his desires as hell. When they enlarge their desire for American dominance in the world, their power in the world, that's why the scriptures say, get thee down, there is no throne, meaning they're losing their power seat in the world through their military power is subsiding and the economic power through the dollar is subsiding. And sanctions are becoming impenetrable to these nations. All right, causing no harm to these, less harm to these nations than they used to before. All right. Then you got the BRICS, all these nations moving towards their own form of economy. Yea, also because he transgresseth by wine through their business, he is a proud man. Neither keepeth at home, who enlargeth his desires as hell, man. They bring hell anywhere they go. That's what we're witnessing over there in Gaza and Palestine, Saudi Arabia. Oh, not Saudi Arabia, but Iraq, you know. And is as death, man. So it's like there's no end to their greed, to their covetousness, their ill-gotten gain. Just like the grave has no end to it. So they have no end to it. They want to take over the whole world. That's why I say America over everything, you know. And cannot be satisfied. See, cannot be satisfied. There's always a thriving leader in place in America. They always want to take over some more. Like it's like a monster, a beast. All right. But gathereth unto him all nations and heapeth unto him all people. They want everybody up under him. That's why I say the woman that ruled over the nations as a king. That's in the book of Revelations. All right. She was crowned. She was given all kind of luxuries and the dollar to be able to dominate the world with. Shall not all these take up a parable against him and a taunting proverb against him? That's the BRICS. That's a taunting proverb. Those BRIC nations. And say, woe unto him that increaseth that which is not his. That's what China and Russia are saying. And Iran, they saying, how is America increasing in debt when they owe everybody? So all they're doing is propping up the dollar, propping up America's economy by continuing to pay into it, by continuing to deal with sanctions, by continuing to trade here, by continuing to, like I said, buy U.S. treasuries, et cetera, keeping the pulse of this place going. When it's like keeping the pulse of your enemy alive, thriving, when all they're going to do is get out of the, stand up on their 2 feet and attack you once they get strong. All right. It says, woe to him that increaseth that which is not his, man. So they like, why is this? Why does Babylon, America, have to increase? Why they have to stay um, subordinate to Babylon? So woe to him that increaseth that which is not his. How long? See that they're increasing in land, they're increasing in trade. They're trying to dominate the digital market, blaming stuff on China, saying China's thriving while they're also competing against China. You know, so they're like, how long are we gonna keep going on with this? You know, trying to take lands like Ukraine, et cetera, et cetera. How long and increasing in debt? Where these nations gonna eventually show up and want their payment for their debt, man, that's owed to these nations. You know, billions and trillions of dollars in debt that America's in right now. And that's owed to somebody. And they've been sharing it, passing it around, you know, because debt is made to be sold. So they're like, how long, man? And to him that ladeth himself with thick clay, the dollar is basically a form of debt once it's spent or created. How long and to him that ladeth himself with thick clay. So thick clay represents heavy debts, man, owed to these nations. Shall they not rise up suddenly that shall bite thee, and awake that shall vex thee? All right, means to what? They're going to exact on that debt. They're going to want payment. So all those dollars, paper forms of dollars, or those U.S. Treasury is going to get sent back. They said the dollar's going home to roost. And when they get sent back to this place, they're going to have to transform it into something. Because if you can't pay it, if this country can't pay those debts, which they can't, in gold and silver, they're going to have to pay it in lease. Ownership. That's why they say China owns all these different areas in America, like parts of New York, et cetera, et cetera. So those U.S. Treasury is going to come home to roost, and they're going to buy up ownership of places here. All right. So, but before that, all they got to do is just say, you know what? Let's move towards their system. They're going to trust in their volatile system, which is not fully established yet, because they don't have their transactions fully completed yet, or trust in their currencies like China, Russia, Saudi Arabia, Iran. They got to find a new form of oil trade with Saudi Arabia, et cetera, et cetera. So it's very volatile. But once they all agree, it's over. It's over, man. So America is getting prepared for that by moving towards their digital biometric social credit score system, which is going to give a delusional form of security for the investors here. That's what keeps America going. It's investors, just like any business. And also, it's going to give the illusion of safety and stability in the economy once they move towards a digital system. All right. So that's why they're going to do it. To give off the illusion of stability. So, but shall they not rise up suddenly that shall bite thee? So they all going to rise up against this place, not just rise up. They're going to rise up against it. All right, because America always been saying America first, trying to put the other nations under them. But now they're all rising up, saying, "Let the weak say I am strong." And awake that shall vex thee. Vex thee means to exact on the debt, meaning they want their payments. And thou shalt be for booties unto them, because thou hast spoiled many nations, and all the remnant of the people shall spoil thee.